It's the wee hours of Sunday morning, and it's time to show up. So I'm showing up. There's an argument that I've seen a lot of over the course of over the course of the weekend, really. Yesterday and Friday, I saw a number of people complaining that people are objecting improperly to bullshit statements from the administration. Now, specifically, they're talking about RFK Jr.'s comments, which I will not dignify by repeating. I'm going to use another example, and another example is the people that we deported to an El Salvadoran prison because they were gang members. And since they were gang members, they could be deported without due process. Number one, they were not gang members. Number two, you have to prove they're gang members before you could do anything because they're gang members. You have to prove in a court of law, beyond the reasonable doubt, before a jury of their peers, that they're gang members before you can impose any sentence for them being gang members. You have to give them due process, regardless. But on top of that, they weren't gang members. We know they weren't gang members. Most of them had nothing to do with gangs. Some of them were United States citizens, or they had green cards. They were specifically forbidden to be deported. They had special permission to stay in the United States. They got deported anyway. And people were complaining that a lot of the objections to this are, well, those people aren't gang members. But even if they were gang members, it's not okay to do this. Yeah, but it's also important that they're not gang members. And this is an argument that shows up in other places as well. I gotta use an example from the left. Landlords are terrible people, and they shouldn't be allowed to exist. That's a fucking moronic argument, because it's of the exact same form as these immigrants are gang members and therefore should be deported to El Salvador without due process. Well, these landlords are terrible people, and they should be deprived of their income and their property and their business operation because they're terrible people. Both of these arguments are of the same form. You take a quality of a tiny few people that you can cherry pick when somebody says, hey, wait a minute, the landlords are not terrible people. Well, this landlord is a terrible person. These immigrants are not gang members. Well, this immigrant is a gang member. You can cherry pick, and you can take that cherry-picked person, and you can post pictures of them, and you can write magazine articles about them, and you can interview them in the press, and you can put them all over the media, and you can have them show up at events. You can do all kinds of things to just wave them in front of people and go, look, they're gang members. It's just a cherry-picked example. So that's bullshit, and it's also bullshit to expand just that one person, just that one example, to the entire class of people. And then it's also bullshit to say, and because of that complete lie that I just told you, we can do this terrible thing. No, you can't. You can't do the terrible thing because it's terrible. You can't do that. That's not okay. And the reason it's structured this way is to make people squabble among themselves. If you oppose the actions that are being taken, you now have to choose, what are you going to object to? Are you going to say, hey, wait a minute, you're lying? Or are you going to say, hey, you can't do that even if what you said is true? Even if what you said is true, it's not okay to do what you're doing. Whichever one you focus on, you lose focus on the other one. You have to remember to bring up both things. Hey, number one, you're lying. Number two, that's not okay even if you're not lying. Like, that's never okay. You're lying to justify your actions, but your actions can't be justified anyway. It still doesn't justify the actions, and it's a lie. You have to recognize both things, or you're going to get people that come along and go, oh, okay, so the problem is that they're not gang members. Okay, we're going to deport gang members. All of these people are gang members. We're going to deport them. No, you can't do that. You still have to give them due process. They're entitled to it. In the United States, they have a right to due process under the Fifth Amendment. You can't just deport them. Just like it doesn't matter how terrible a landlord is, you can't just take their property away from them. You could tell them they're not allowed to rent it out anymore. But I don't know what the fantasy is with the landlords shouldn't exist people. Because if landlords don't exist, you can't rent a place to live. The landlord still owns the place. They're just not allowed to let you rent it. You're the one who ends up homeless. Oh, no. We have to make them sell the house. You're not allowed to own more than one house. You can't tell people they're not allowed to buy a house. If a person wants to buy 2 houses or 3 houses or 4 houses, you can't tell them they're not allowed to buy the house. That's not how anything works. You don't get to go, oh, okay, well, everybody only gets 1 house. You're still not going to be able to afford a house. You're not going to have the money. You're not going to have a place to live because you can't afford to buy the house. You're going to end up in an entirely different situation. But I don't know what fantasy world these fucking people are living in, but the real focus here needs to be, and I'm kind of going off the rails here, going, what the fuck are you thinking? There shouldn't be any landlords. Okay, there's no place for you to live. Fuck off, be homeless. Congratulations, that's what you asked for. But the real issue here is that we've got these 2 individual things you can object to that are connected together for the explicit purpose of A, forcing you to pick one to object to. You have to object to one of them first, even if you object to both of them. Even if you object to both of them, you say, wait a minute, that's not true. And also, but when you say that's not true, they have that immediate response to it. And that immediate response is, here's our cherry-picked example of sometimes it is true. But it's not true, not in the general case. They do that because they can argue with you. And if you start to object, you say, hey, wait a minute, that's not okay to do to anybody. But these are bad people. This is a special situation because they're bad people. If you don't say that they're lying about the people, then when you say it's not okay to do this to people, well, it should be. It should be because they're bad people, but they're not bad people. You're lying. Just like the whole landlords thing. When you start going, you should take people's property away from them. You can't just take people's property away from them. That's horse shit. You can't do that. Oh, well, you think it's okay for them to just be terrible people and we do nothing? But they're not terrible people. The overwhelming majority of landlords are just idiots. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, that's the reality of it. Corporate landlords only own a tiny fraction of the properties that are available for rent. Most of the rental properties across the United States, they're owned by individual people who are renting the place out because they can't sell it for enough money to be worth it. Or they can't sell it because of their mortgage. There are all kinds of reasons. But Yeah, that's the issue. There is the whole dichotomy of the two issues. You've got, on the one hand, here's a complete bullshit lie about these people. And then on the other hand, here's a completely unacceptable thing we're going to do to them. Well, that's a lie and you can't do the thing. And those are unrelated. Like, that's two problems. That's not one problem. You can't do the thing because that's a lie. It's not one issue. It's that's a lie, problem one, and you can't do that, problem two. They're both problems. And it's phrased that way. It's always phrased that way for the explicit purpose of making the other side squabble amongst themselves about what's more important. Is it more important that you can't do this, or is it more important that it was a lie? Is the lie more important, or are the unjustifiable actions more important? Which one should we be objecting to? And people are arguing about that, left and right. A whole lot of what is going on right now in politics is designed to get you spun up and angry, so you'll squabble and argue amongst yourselves and not get anything done. They want you not to take any meaningful action because you're distracted by trying to figure out what the fuck. Well, let's go fight this particular problem. Oh, we don't care about that. We don't care about that. We're doing 12 different things. You can only fight so many of them. Whichever ones you fight, we'll just keep doing the other ones. That's what this shit is designed for. It's supposed to keep you busy fighting the things that you decide are most important. And then they're like, okay, well, they're all busy worrying about that thing. We're going to go focus on this thing and get that done. That's why you don't fucking vote for these people, you jackasses. Fucking idiots. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. I am going to do my, I'm going to do some shit on hands. I'm going to talk a little bit about hands. Those of you who are here for game dev and programming discussion, yeah, there's not going to be any of that in the rest of this. I've been looking at hands, I've been looking at arms, I've been looking at how the anatomy of the upper limbs are constructed. And there's something I'm missing, and I don't know what it is. I am at some point going to stumble over it and go, there, that's the thing I've been missing. But for the moment, I have absolutely no idea what it is. I did this little hand over here. You see, I did this fist up in the corner there. I did this fist up in the corner there, and I did a hand some time back. And then I got this hand stuff that I did, and I got this little diagram of the elbow over here. I got this diagram of the elbow right here. Let's switch over to a better brush. So yeah, I've been kind of looking at this. And the thing about the upper arm is you have this sort of ridge that spirals up. The humerus has this ridge that runs up the arm bone. It spirals and twists so that you don't break it. And then you've got this big honking knob here, and this big honking knob here. And then in here, you've got this little sort of spool piece. And nestled into that goes the, oh, what is it called? These are the epicondyles here. Is it the acromion process? Or the olecranon? Yeah, it's the olecranon. This right here. This is the olecranon. It's kind of shaped like this. It's like a diamond with a little notch chopped out of it. And that juts out of the ulna, which is fairly big and thick. And the ulna also kind of juts over to the side here because the radius sort of fits in there and fits around the epicondyle. So the radius kind of wraps around that, and the ulna nestles up into it in there. So the radius here kind of rotates. It rotates back and forth. And that sits, the radius is underneath, it's under the pinky finger, right along here. Is that it? Hold on. Is that it? Okay, yeah, it's along the thumb. So it's like you've got your hand, over here's your thumb. And here is the radius. Comes along off of that. And the radius actually broadens out here. And you can sort of pivot along the edge of the ulna. You can think of it as being kind of this construction, like this, and then here's the olecranon right at the end. So you've got the hand here and the thumb here, and the radius kind of comes down and broadens out, turns into the wrist bones. Doesn't turn into the wrist bones, but it kind of runs into them. They all kind of run together. And then alongside that, you've got the ulna, and the radius kind of flops over the ulna. As you rotate your arm, it kind of, as the wrist turns, right here, this part doesn't go much of anywhere, it just rotates. But down here where it's broadened out, it flops over the end of the ulna. And way up here, you've got all this big fatness going on at the end up by the elbow. Excuse me. And that little point right there, that you could see there's kind of a hollow in there that the end of that pops into to stop it from extending all the way out. From the side, it kind of looks like this, and then you've got the upper arm. The upper arm has the epicondyles here, and it has that little spool shape in the middle. So when your arm's bent, of course, it's kind of sitting like that. And then when you straighten it out, the olecranon kind of jams in there, and it won't open out all the way. So I've been thinking a lot about this. and doing little diagrams and whatnot, but it hasn't actually helped me draw better hands. Like I have a better model in my head of how hands are supposed to work, but that really hasn't done me any good in terms of figuring out how to draw the hand. Like you've got these 4 spots where the fingers come out of the palm. Look. Because this is curved here, because that's curved, the individual fingers aren't actually, they're not actually circles. They're kind of a D shape. They kind of twist as you go. The middle finger's kind of straight across, but the others are kind of angled. Yeah. Turn that off. And then the thumb, of course, is almost sideways. So and because of that curve, fingers are almost never completely straight. They're always just a little bit bent. Because of the weight, if nothing else. Like if you've got your hand kind of hanging out here, then you may have fingers outstretched, but they're going to droop a little. The fingers are going to droop a little. And typically, the middle finger is going to droop more. Well, the middle finger is going to droop more just because it's heavier. And the ring finger is likely to droop with it because of the way that the tendons are attached. I've talked about that in previous videos. But, so kind of, if we have our middle finger right here, then our forefinger is rotated a little bit. And because it's rotated a little bit, if you take something and you rotate it a little bit, and that kind of gives it a, I'm exaggerating here, but yeah, so if you take something that's not perfectly straight but that droops and you turn it to the side, then it kind of points away from the side you turn it to. So the fingers aren't really like this. They're like this. Huh. Let me look something up real quick. Huh. And you can see that kind of going on here. And I make that kind of explicit on this image right here. Let me go full screen real quick. Yeah, they on this bit right here, you kind of get explicit about the fingers aren't straight in; they kind of fan out, they rotate. Okay, yeah, that's some progress, I think. That's something that that's still not really helping. Actually, that should go right alongside. I don't know that this is I don't know that this is precisely kind of information that I need. Trying to locate the landmarks here. That finger's too short. Because it should be same length. Should come out to about there. Means to lengthen that out. That still doesn't look right. That makes the thumb look too short. The thumb should come down midway. That too is too short. So, and then that doesn't look right. See, I'm getting all of my proportions wrong on all of this stuff. There's a rotation to the hand. I'm not really getting very well. I don't know what the hell. It's really annoying. Anyway, I've put in some time. That's the important thing. Again, do a little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I'm clearly doing something wrong, but I don't know what it is. I don't know how to I don't know how to improve what I'm doing, and I'm looking for the I'm looking for what I'm doing wrong, but I'm not finding what I'm doing wrong. And it's something with the way that I'm looking at it and what I'm seeing and what I'm not seeing. And I don't see the thing that I need to see and go, that's what I need to put in there. That's what will make this look right. I've watched all of these tutorials on like how to paint and draw hands, and the thing is that none of those seem to be really helping very much either. And I think maybe it's because they're not saying the thing that I'm not seeing. And maybe that's because the thing that I'm not seeing is hard to say. It's hard to explain. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it isn't being said by someone. And maybe it is, and I just haven't found the person saying it, but for the moment, I'm just kind of lost on it. So I don't know, man. There's something I'm missing, and I don't know what it is. So I just need to keep plugging away until I figure it out. There's really nothing else for it. Anyway, I showed up. Thank you for showing up. I always appreciate it when you guys show up. Okay, bye.